Welcome to Filmflix Movie Recap. In today's recap, we're going to be reviewing the movie called Jumanji. The opening scene of the movie takes place in Brantford, New Hampshire in 1869, where two boys are seen running with a box and burying it in the woods. The scene then shifts to 100 years later in the same town, where a young boy named Alan Parrish is being chased by bullies. Seeking refuge in his father's shoe factory, Alan meets Carl, one of his father's employees, who shows him a prototype sneaker he has created. Alan carelessly places the shoe on a conveyor belt, which leads to the destruction of the machine and Carl's prototype. When Alan's father demands to know who is responsible, Carl takes the blame. As Alan leaves the factory, he is accosted by the bullies who beat him up and take his bike. Later that day, Alan hears a strange drumbeat and follows it to a construction site, where he finds the box buried by the two boys a century before. Inside, he finds a wooden board game named Jumanji. That evening, Alan's parents are going out, and his father tells him that he is proud of him for standing up to the bullies. However, Alan's happiness is short-lived when his father informs him that he will be sent to a boarding school for boys. Angry and upset, Alan tries to run away from home by packing his suitcase. Later that evening, he is sucked into the game, leaving his parents devastated. 26 years later, Nora Shepherd and her niece and nephew, Judy and Peter, move into the now vacant Parrish mansion. While exploring the house, they encounter a bat in the attic, which leads to the exterminator sharing a disturbing story about the previous owner of the house, who he believes murdered his son Alan and hid his remains in the mansion's walls. The following day, while Nora is away, Peter and Judy hear the tribal drum sounds and discover the Jumanji board game in the attic. As they open the game, two game pieces lock into place on their own. The first roll by, Judy summons giant mosquitoes, which quickly exit through an open window. Peter's roll of the dice unleashes a horde of wild monkeys in the kitchen. Judy then reads a message on the board stating that everything will return to normal when the game ends. Peter rolls a 5, and to their surprise, a lion appears in the house. Alan then emerges, now a man in his 40s, wearing jungle clothing, and thanks Judy and Peter for freeing him. Alan asks about his parents' whereabouts, and Judy informs him that it is 1995, and they are now the owners of the house. Alan rushes outside, where he encounters Carl in a police car. The monkeys from the kitchen hijack the car, and Alan rushes off to find his family. He discovers that the Parrish shoe factory has been closed, and meets a homeless man who tells him that Sam used all his resources to search for Alan after he disappeared. The homeless man directs Alan to the nearby cemetery, where his parents are buried. After visiting his parents' graves, Alan and the children return to the mansion, where they attempt to finish the game. They discover that the game must be played in order, and as Alan was the second person to roll the dice, followed by Judy and Peter, Sarah must take the next turn for the game to proceed. The group goes to Sarah's old house to find her, only to discover that a psychic is living there. They ask the psychic for help finding Sarah, only to learn that the psychic is Sarah. Upon seeing Alan, Sarah faints, but they manage to take her back to the mansion. When Sarah sees the game board, she claims that her memory of Alan being sucked into the game was a hallucination, and that Alan's father had killed him and hidden his body in the walls of the mansion. Alan tricks Sarah into taking her turn, and she summons carnivorous plants. They then retreat to another part of the house, where Alan takes his turn, unleashing the game's deadliest aspect. A big game hunter named Van Pelt, who has been chasing him within the game. Van Pelt is modeled after Alan's father, and he seems to only want to hunt Alan down and kill him. The group goes to the library, and Judy's turn unleashes a stampede of animals. In the chaos, a pelican grabs the game and flies off, leading Alan and the group on a chase to retrieve it. They manage to recover the game, but Carl arrives and takes Alan away. Once Alan is gone, Peter reveals that he has cheated by attempting to manipulate the dice, resulting in him beginning to turn into a monkey. While in the police cruiser, Alan finally discloses his true identity to Carl, who then tries to reunite Alan with Judy, Peter, and Sarah. Meanwhile, the trio is once again confronted by Van Pelt, who has now obtained a Daewoo USAS 12 automatic shotgun. The pursuit leads them into the town center, where Peter narrowly avoids death from the animal stampede. Van Pelt tracks down Peter, who is trapped in a wrecked vehicle, and takes the game from him, before heading towards a discount store. His plan is to use Sarah and the game as bait, to lure Alan to him. Eventually, Alan and Carl locate them at the store, and Carl's car crashes into the store's entrance, burying Van Pelt under an avalanche of paint cans. Upon returning to the mansion, the group discovers that the carnivorous plants have taken over the house's interior. On the next turn, a monsoon floods the main floor, and the group is pursued by a massive crocodile. They head for the attic, where Sarah takes her turn, and the floor transforms into quicksand, almost engulfing Alan. Judy rolls the dice, causing the floor to freeze, saving Alan from being swallowed by the quicksand. Peter's turn summons giant spiders, and Judy tries to fight them off, but she inadvertently touches one of the plants, and it shoots her with a poisonous barb. Sarah takes her turn, causing an earthquake that splits the parish house in two, freeing Alan, who falls through the floor along with the game. As Alan is about to take his turn, Van Pelt appears, but Alan drops the dice, and declares that he won't run anymore. As the dice finish their roll, and Alan's piece reaches the center of the board, all the creatures and animals are sucked back into the game, including Van Pelt himself. Alan and Sarah embrace each other as they close their eyes. When they open them again, they find themselves back in the parlor of Alan's house in 1969, just as Sam Parrish returns, to retrieve his forgotten speech. Alan rushes to hug his father, and apologizes for his behavior before. Sam apologizes as well, and decides not to send him away. He also takes responsibility for Carl's prototype sneaker becoming lodged in the factory machine. Alan worries about Judy and Peter, but Sarah reminds him that they don't exist yet. The two then weight down the game and toss it into a nearby river. Sarah notes that their memories of the adventure are starting to fade, and kisses Alan for his bravery. The film's epilogue brings us back to the year 1995, where Alan and Sarah are married, and expecting their first child. The parish mansion is hosting a Christmas party, and Alan is on the phone with his parents, who are vacationing. Carl is also in attendance. Judy, Peter, and their parents have been invited to the party, though the children are unaware of their previous adventure. Alan and Sarah hope to offer the kids' father an advertising job at Parish Shoe Company, but their parents want to wait until after their planned skiing trip in the Canadian Rockies. Alan and Sarah both exclaim, "No," in unison. The film closes with two French girls walking along a beach, hearing a strange drum beat. The Jumanji game board is buried in the sand, a few yards ahead, ready to claim its next players. And that's all for this recap. See you in the next one.